The recent headlines have been dominated by China's banning of the BBC World Service in the mainland. And then also prior to that, we had the British regulator Ofcom de-licensing the Chinese network CGTN. What do you make of all this? Is this, something concerning to you? Is it something that, is a bit of a beat up, or does it signal something greater about the UK and China, or the direction China's heading in terms of restricting freedoms?
I think, first of all, I wasn't surprised. I think the suspension of the CGTN license was sort of, it's something in the making that's been for quite a while. But it's certainly not a positive signal, I would say. And in terms of international relation, in terms of the geopolitics, it's something that's gonna that could also sort of go down, toward a downward spiral. That is, I think when Ofcom announced that decision, there was already news reporting, sort of speculating that China could very well retaliate by not allowing putting a ban on the BBC signals, and that's what happened. I think this is just one of the unfortunate outcomes of, in a way, what many people call the new wave of Cold War. That is because there is, I think, for countries, or in terms of international relation, it's very difficult. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a long time to build the trust, but it's very easy to just dismantle that trust. And I see this kind of mutual ban of major television outlets as one of those unfortunate events that can very quickly dismantle the mutual trust. And I think the Ofcom's sort of the suspension of the CGTN license is very much based on a Western-centric or UK-centric understanding of what should be the relationship between government and media, and based on this assumption that only the liberal democratic assumption about the relationship between government and media is legitimate and is allowed. So if you want to operate in our in our country, you have to follow this rule. But I'm not sure that's a productive perspective. That's a productive view in terms of facilitating understanding and also promoting geopolitical cooperation rather than conflict.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. Looking ahead, do you think that these kind of the internet revolution, if you want to call it, and all of these digital media content sources will continue to pose a challenge to President Xi? And how do you think he will sort of respond to that? Is the status quo okay, or will he be keeping a close eye to ensure that the Chinese government maintains a pretty strict control over the messaging from these myriad sources?
Well, actually, I don't really view the relationship between the Chinese government and digital media or the internet as necessarily an antithetical one, because if you think about it, from day one, the rollout of digital infrastructure, the development of internet, was very much a state-supported top-down process. So in other words, it's because the state realized that, in the 90s, there was a lot of policy paper and from the state council saying that we need to catch up. We shouldn't miss on the next, wave of digital economy. So the development of internet in China itself was very much a state sponsored and advocated project. And because of this, also from day one, it's always gonna be, in a way, a cat and mouse game, in the sense that internet users are getting more and more resourceful, they are getting more and more technologically literate, and they try to circumvent whatever restriction and regulation that are there. And then the state would find new ways to sort of ring that in. And we literally see this kind of constant negotiation and contestation unfolding on the Chinese internet, also to circumvent. So there are all these things going on all the time. And then sometimes if I get something forwarded by a friend, and then they will say, read it quickly before it disappears. So people know that it might disappear.
Absolutely. Well, Bingchun, you've certainly demystified some very common misconceptions about the media in China. It's been very illuminating today. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights, and for joining us on the China Puzzle.